Time is just gone 8:43 a.m. as we continue coming to you live out of the Johannesburg Expo Center this morning. It is the ANC's 55th elective or its national conference, and things are looking up. In fact, just walking in this morning, it's just a hive of activity, and I'm sure when the conference actually kicks off, there's just going to be so much happening over the next few days. And more importantly, it is an elective conference, and we will obviously find out by tomorrow evening as to who is going to be leading this country. Now, some of us, or some of people are actually putting it quite simplistically, saying it's a digital vibes versus pala pala. But is it the case? There is just so much more in terms of policy, in terms of where this country or the ANC would be taking this country and in what direction. But today being the day of reconciliation, and the question is, this is quite relevant that we are here at Nasrec, considering that there are just so many divergent views, and also, looking at reconciliation. Will the ANC, is the ANC able to reconcile its differences? That is just one of the questions that we are going to ask. And we joined on the line this morning by Nishan Bolton, Director at the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. Nishan, good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning and greetings to your viewers.
Yes, day of reconciliation and looking at this country since democracy. Just how far, Nishan, do you think we've come as a country? We come from different backgrounds. We speak about the Rainbow Nation, different ideologies, different philosophies. Have we been able to reconcile as a nation?
In many ways, yes. In many ways, no. That there's no one view of what reconciliation means. The Reconciliation Barometer published by the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation, their 2021 report identifies 16 different interpretations or views on what reconciliation actually means. So we don't have one understanding of what reconciliation means. But if you take the textbook dictionary of trying to get people to overcome their differences, establish friendly relations, what South Africa has added to that is the need for reconciliation to be based on truth and justice. And in some ways, we have done that. But I think where we have strayed from reconciliation is having left it primarily at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and not having had an agenda for reconciliation work after the TRC itself. And where you are now is perhaps the biggest indicator of that kind of failure, is the leadership that reconciliation requires. Is just not coming from where many would have expected it, but it's also coming from unexpected sources. Today, I would argue that Gift of the Givers is one of the biggest organizations that promotes reconciliation in this country, as do many others outside of the party political space or outside of the government space. So I think we have made significant progress, but we have also gone backwards in terms of just providing the basic services that South Africans need for their day-to-day survival. And without that, it puts a strain on how people relate to each other on the basis of who has or who doesn't have water, who has or who doesn't have electricity. And those divisions, not caused by people themselves, puts a strain on how they see each other, and their differences then comes to the fore. So in that context, we have gone way back than we might have been.
Well, certainly, Nishan, and I think from what you are saying makes a lot of sense, because a lot of times we've seen this us versus the scenario actually playing out in various aspects, and whether we're looking at a political level, a social level, an economic level, and this seems to be playing out very, very prominently. But again, it comes to the point you made earlier. It is about truth. It is about justice, because this is where we can advance as far as reconciliation is concerned, for the common good, having a common purpose and a common vision.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. But also the agenda for reconciliation can't be as it was in 1994. Today, we need to we need to talk about reconciliation in relation to issues of state capture, issues of corruption, issues of a failing state or a faltering state. So therefore, the people who need to be brought together to heal this country, to overcome the problems of this country, is not necessarily just black and white. And therefore, an agenda for reconciliation is what needs to be established for this country, and it needs it needs the requisite leadership to help people steer it through dealing with what those agenda items might be. So, to give you one example, the assassination of Babita Deokaran it has become a sore point in this country. It has become a divisive issue in this country. But it's also an issue around which South Africans are broadly united in a sense that there needs to be something done about the issues of corruption in public hospitals. Now, that is an issue around which you can build unity, you can build action, but it requires leadership. And that leadership, unfortunately, won't come from the place where you are now broadcasting from. And therefore, it has to come from organizations like Salam Media, organizations like the like the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation, the faith community, civil society. And I think across the length and breadth of the country, South Africans are coming together to address issues of crime, issues of poverty, issues of potholes. And in the process of doing that, actually finding that they have more in common than what they have as points of division. But again, this all being done without the necessary leadership and support of those who govern this country.
Yes, and also I think, Nishan, this whole us versus them scenario and how this is actually been playing out in political circles. And when I talk about the common good, I talk about the common good for the country, for the common good of the people of the country. And when we have this division within political ranks, whether we talk of within a political party like the ANC, or even when one looks at coalition governments that have been formed. We've seen it in the major metropolitan areas, and all these divisive issues are playing out, and it is definitely not helping the cause. And just looking at the conference as well, last night we saw former President Jacob Zuma come, and the video that was doing its rounds as well. And again, we looking at the private prosecution as well. Now, these are all contributing factors at the end of the day that is preventing reconciliation in the country, because this is naturally what is happening is people are taking sides. And once you start taking sides without looking at the common good of society, of the country, we are going to stay as a divided nation.
No, we mustn't make the mistake that reconciliation means that we must unite against on everything. I think at the heart of reconciliation means that we must unite against the issues that cause harm to society and against those who cause harm to society. So those who are implicated in state capture and corruption, rightfully so, must be ostracized and shamed by the general public. We can't pretend to be unified, even when in our midst there are those who have brought this country to its knees. So we must accept that you will never have a room full or a country full of people who are all going to believe in the same things. But I think if we united around the fact that we have a constitution, and that constitution has a Bill of Rights, and that Bill of Rights is something that we must strive towards achieving. And anybody and anything that stands in the way of us achieving the vision of our constitution should not have a place in being celebrated in this country, no matter how big they might have been in the struggle and whatever their contributions would have been in the past. It's what they do to build, to take us towards the vision of that constitution that must be the guiding light for what reconciliation needs to be in South Africa today.
Well, Nishan, thank you very much for that and for your time, as always, with us this morning, right here on Salam Media. We wish you all the best, and please take care.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, Nishan Bolton with the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation on the Day of Reconciliation. A quick break. We come back. It is time for Jummah Inspirations, and this morning we are going to go across to Maulana Zakir Jedwali.